Hello. Welcome to the podcast of NLP Radio. In this section, I am going to talk about the feeling of loneliness, where it comes from, and how to deal with it. Many believe that today's humanity lives in the age of solitude and is caught in the loneliness epidemic. Probably everyone has felt lonely from time to time. Loneliness, in a meaningful way, separates us from others, but not only that, but loneliness can also separate us from ourselves. That is, it also causes us to move away from those aspects of our being that only thrive in connection with others. Man is a social being, and if it were not so, there would be no loneliness. This is why we find it so hard to live in a social space without being connected to others. Well, pay attention to this sentence. I said living in a social environment where we have no connection with others. This means that there are people, but we cannot create a bond with them. And this inability is the main cause and root of loneliness. Dr. Farhang Halakui believes that the story of loneliness in reality means that I believe that I am bad and others are also bad. So, as a result, give me a relationship, so I am alone. But loneliness and separation should not be confused. Separation means being without him. It means that he is not today, but he may come tomorrow. So he can come. But when you say, I feel lonely and down, it's kind of like saying that it's caused by a mental disorder, like anxiety or depression. Because being alone is not supposed to break a man. If you feel lonely, don't forget that marriage will not take you out of loneliness. It can even be said that marriage is much worse for single people. Loneliness is an emotional response to times when a person's need to connect with others is not being met. Loneliness can be described as a kind of social pain. But why do we suffer from this pain? What is the cause of loneliness and unpleasant feelings related to it? Social science researchers have said about loneliness that this phenomenon is caused by high sensitivity to social threats. That is, people who feel lonely are afraid of not having enough relationships with others, and as a result, they constantly look for signs of failure in their relationships, which damages their relationships and makes them more lonely. Various factors cause the feeling of loneliness, and I will name some of them. Facing the death of loved ones or being away from friends and acquaintances for a long time. Immigrate to another city or country. Ending an emotional relationship. Retirement or job change and loss of work connections. Excessive introversion and inability to communicate with others. Disorders such as depression. But how to deal with loneliness? The general public believes that the time they spend together with others is associated with more happiness than the time spent alone. As I said, loneliness and being alone are two different things. We usually assume that people who feel lonely are necessarily lonelier, and lonelier people feel more lonely. But loneliness has nothing to do with being alone. The number of people around us is not important, but what matters is how we feel about our relationships with others. In a research, 400 articles on the experience of loneliness were examined, and it was found that there is no relationship between the amount of physical loneliness and the intensity of the feeling of loneliness. For this reason, the cause of loneliness cannot be attributed to the number of people around us. To better cope with your feelings of loneliness, participate in social activities related to your work and studies. Travel with tourism tours and take advantage of the opportunity to socialize with others. Talk about your feelings with close friends or family members. Be active on social networks and talk to those who have the same problems as you. Do not neglect to write down your feelings and thoughts daily. A notebook can be your best friend. Discuss your feelings with a therapist or counselor. Accept your feelings and never beat yourself up for feeling alone. But it is interesting to know that even solitude can be enjoyed. As mentioned earlier, many people feel better when they are with other people, but again, there are many different opinions on this. Regardless of the cause of loneliness, being alone in itself is neither positive nor negative. It all depends on how lonely we are and how we look at it. Being alone is a situation that can shape both the best moments of life and the worst. So there are ways you can take advantage of them to enjoy loneliness instead of escaping it. To be happy in your solitude, stop comparing yourself to others. It doesn't matter how many friends you have. Rather, your social feelings are important to them. Do not overuse social networks. Many times what the virtual space gives us is a flawless picture of life, while this is not the whole story. So if cyberspace worries you or makes you feel depressed, stay away from it. Take advantage of meditation and concentration. Try to make your mind calm and clear by using these techniques. Do not neglect sports activities. Start your favorite activities. In your solitude, you can focus more on the things you always loved, such as painting, learning a new language, or cooking. The most important thing you can do to heal and help yourself is to accept this feeling of loneliness as a feeling in yourself and come to believe that you are not going to stay with this feeling for the rest of your life. Talking to trusted friends or getting help from a psychologist can separate you from these negative feelings to a great extent. If you have been involved in this feeling and have overcome this challenge today, please share your experiences with us. Thank you for your support. Don't forget to like and comment.